Hi, everyone. Welcome. We are going to get started shortly. We're just going to let people kind of flow in for a few minutes. Thank you for joining. And while we wait, we always like to ask a fun kind of icebreaker question to get the chat going. So we thought something fun in the spirit of today's webinar title. We would love to hear in what ways you have treated yourself this year. Maybe earlier this year or a way that you might treat yourself at the end of this year. For me, I always treat myself to some PTO at the end of the year while my daughter is still in school. And so I can have some time for a massage for myself. So what about you, Jarrett?
Oh, that sounds really nice. I would say I treat myself by taking advantage of remote work. As you know, Bree, I am traveling the country this year every month to 6 weeks, trying on some new cities with my little dog. So that's how I'm treating myself right now.
Jarrett is our nomad. We live vicariously through him and all of his travels. Oh man, we have some good stuff. So trip to New York City. I want to do that with my sister. Spa. If anyone has never had a 90-minute massage, I definitely recommend that as opposed to 60. It's a game changer. Date night, yes, Mindy, that's good. I saw some cruises. That's awesome. Well, I'm glad everyone is treating themselves. If you haven't, you should think about that for the end of the year. You definitely deserve it, especially after I'm sure the busy year we have all had. Let's see. I think we can probably go ahead and get started. Let's see if there was anything else. Trip to Peru, that's fun.
He's also great.
Awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone looks like everyone did lots of really fun traveling, which is always fun. All right, cool. Well, thank you guys. Thank you for indulging us there. I think we can go ahead and get started. We've got 2 minutes after here. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brianna Martin. I'm the Director of Brand Marketing at Mighty Citizen. We are very excited to have you on today. We're here today for Treat Yourself to Success, Marketing Benchmarks and Strategies for a More Effective 2025. And I'm joined by Jarrett Way. He is our Senior Marketing Manager. And then Adam Wakefield, he is on keys. He is our Marketing Operations Manager. He's going to be providing lots of resources in the chat today, and then he's going to be monitoring our Q&A for the end as well. And then speaking of our Q&A, if you have any questions during the webinar, which we encourage throughout, please post them in the Q&A area of a Zoom as opposed to the chat. So as you can see, there's lots of chatter in the chat, and sometimes it gets hard just to sift out the questions, and I want to make sure we don't miss any. So please post them in the Q&A. We also have closed captioning available. So you'll see there's a live transcript option at the bottom of your screen where you can enable that if needed. And then lastly, presentation slides, a link to the recording, and then some other tools will all be sent to you tomorrow through email. And then if you are an association, your CAE certificate will also be in that email. All right. So a little bit about me. I have been working in marketing for nearly 15 years, and about 10 of that is in the association space specifically prior to Mighty Citizen. One of my strengths is definitely seeing the big picture. So kind of taking a very wide view of marketing and how that affects organization as a whole, and then using that as a guiding light to create plans and strategies, which is also something that I love to do. And then my weakness, you can see her in the screen here. She is love of my life. Her name is Mia, and she is in first grade. And that picture sums up her sassy personality perfectly. She is 6 going on 16 for sure. I'm sure some of you can relate to this. Someone says 6 going on 36. Wow.
Thanks, Bree. Hey, everyone. Again, my name is Jarrett Way. I am the Senior Marketing Manager here at Mighty Citizen. I am celebrating 5 years this year with Mighty Citizen, which I cannot believe. I spent my career 8 years in the making, supporting mission-driven organizations and specifically nonprofits as well, doing brand marketing and content strategy. So love what I do, love to get to empower mission-driven organizations and the ones that we work with. Strength of mine is storytelling. I believe storytelling is the foundation of all good marketing, and you will hear me say that a million times probably. We write that on all of our content and encourage our clients to do their own storytelling as well. My weakness, competing with Mia for most adorable, is my 4.5-year-old pup. Juniper, who I mentioned earlier. Here is the dog tax. This is Juniper. She is still just a baby and my best friend. So she's my weakness. She gets everything that she wants. Again, we're Mighty Citizen. We are the improvement agency. And what that means is that we've been helping mission-driven organizations just like yours improve and increase their impact through strategy, creative and digital transformation, et cetera, for 25 years this year, which is very exciting. We serve associations, nonprofits, educational institutions, and government agencies with branding, marketing, and an array of our digital services. Just like Donna and Tom here, we are all excited to be treating ourselves today. And I want to get you excited to treat yourself too, because we're going to be doing that through a few things. First and foremost, we're going to be learning a little bit about what marketing maturity is and how it relates to marketing effectiveness. So we'll define some terms there before we get started. And then we'll be reviewing some data from the 2024 Marketing Benchmarks for Mission-Driven Organizations report, including trends and insights. And then we'll be getting recommendations and examples to help you plan for 2025 and move to that next stage of marketing maturity. So before we go any further, like I said, we'll define some terms. And I want to define first, what is marketing maturity? You'll hear us say it all the time. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way. Marketing maturity, simply put, is marketing effectiveness. So it is the degree to which an organization is achieving its goals via the entire suite of marketing channels, strategies, and technologies at its disposal. So at its essence, marketing maturity is a journey to your organization's best self. So we view marketing really as an ecosystem. And within that ecosystem exists everything that an organization does to communicate itself to the rest of the world. All of those everythings, they influence and are influenced by one another. So no tactic lives by itself alone on an island. Now, I would like to take a quick temperature of the room real quick. And I just want to know, do you know how effective your marketing is overall? So just let us know in the chat. So Bree and I can take a look. I want to know if it's yes, if it's no, maybe a little, or maybe you're afraid to say, and it's all valid. So I'll give you just a few minutes or a minute here to let us know in the chat.
Lots of yeses. That's wonderful. Lots of maybe a little afraid to say, one person afraid to say. No, but I have my suspicions. Okay. It's kind of a good mix.
Yeah, really good mix.
Awesome.
So if you said no or a little, or you're afraid to say, again, you're in great company here. Really, the fact of the matter is that marketing maturity is just something that's extremely hard to measure. It's one of the most elusive aspects of marketing, but it is worth it to measure it for a lot of reasons. You'll see a lot of them here. It'll help you capitalize on what's working, first and foremost. So you can identify what's working, therefore you can capitalize on it. It helps you uncover that low-hanging fruit. It'll save you time and money, so you're not spinning your wheels on what's not working. It'll show you how to augment your team. It'll help you understand the return on investment that you're actually getting for your marketing. And with that return on investment, you can ask for more investment where and when needed, and it helps you get that additional leadership buy-in as well. So lots of great reasons to measure your marketing maturity or your marketing effectiveness. And now Bree is going to tell us how we measure that marketing maturity.
Thanks, Jared. So yeah, we just went over what it is. So now we want to ask, how do we actually measure it? So this is something we have been asking ourselves for many years, helping our clients ask this question through our services, really looking at holistically, looking at marketing to see what is working, what's not, and kind of where can we prioritize based off of that. So our answer to that was a self-assessment that measures your marketing maturity. It's called the Mighty GPS, and we launched it in February of 2022. We've been collecting data from it since then with across all of our 4 audiences, the associations, nonprofits, government agencies, and educational institutions. So after you take the GPS, which takes about 6 to 7 on average, 6 to 7 minutes to take, you will get a custom report, and it's going to include kind of your overall marketing maturity score. And then you get scores by category. So those categories are on the right side. There's we're going to go through each of those in this presentation today. And then it measures across the 4 marketing maturity stages. So depending on where you score, you'll score in crawling, walking, running, and soaring. So your custom report that you get includes those scores, and it also includes recommendations to kind of help you move to the next stage. So another area of opportunity that we found was the need for marketing benchmarks that kind of looked at that full ecosystem of marketing in the mission-driven space. There's lots of marketing benchmarks that you can get that are B2B or other benchmarking reports across industries, but there wasn't anything that looked at that full ecosystem. So you may remember last year we launched our mission-driven marketing benchmarks report for the first time. And those are all based off of responses from those who took the Mighty GPS. And then this year, we're very excited. We are able to break out associations and nonprofits. So you each have your own reports. Based off of the registration list that we saw for the webinar, the majority of you are nonprofits or associations. So hopefully you'll be able to download that report and look at it. We are working on gaining enough responses for educational institutions and government agencies. So shout out to any of you on the call. Please take the Mighty GPS. This will not only give you great recommendations to improve your marketing, but it also will help us be able to create the reports that we can provide to you as well. All right, so just a quick note for all the data that we are going to cover today is going to be from the full mission-driven reports. So you can visit the website that Adam is going to share in the chat, and you can download any of the 3 reports. But today, just because of time, we're only going to be covering the mission-driven report data, which is covering all of those industries. So not surprisingly, there's actually a lot of similarity and crossover, though. Okay, so want to acknowledge first that there's a lot of data that we're going to cover, and we realize and understand that it can be cumbersome and a little dense. We're hoping that we can convey it in a way that is clear and kind of compelling, highlights correlations that you're wanting to see of what is working for others that might help you prioritize. And then we're also going to share recommendations as well as some examples of what implementing some of our recommendations might look like in practice. Okay, so a quick reminder on that scoring again before you start looking at the data. So we have those 4 categories that we're going to look at. And then depending on where you score, you'll be placed in a marketing maturity stage. 0 to 39 is crawling, 40 to 59 is walking, running is 60 to 80, and then 81 to 100 is that soaring stage. All right, so this is a graphic that is breaking down how mission-driven organizations scored for their marketing maturity in 2023 compared to 2022. So we had around 300 respondents to the GPS in 2023 across all 4 of those industries. They were a variety of job titles as well as marketing budget and revenue. There is more demographic breakdowns in the reports that you can look at. So overall, the marketing maturity score for 2023 was 58.9 out of 100. So that is very close to the running stage, but still in walking. And it was 2.7 points higher than 2022, which was really great to see. Also across the board, every category that we measured, there were year-over-year improvements. So, this shows us mission-driven organizations really understand the solid understanding of the fundamentals. And even in some areas like branding and strategy, team dynamics, you're really effective, scoring well into the running stage. So great job there. All right, our first category that we're going to walk through is research and analytics. So this is asking questions about audience research, like stakeholder interviews, surveys, using analytics to inform decisions and website usability. So here, research and analytics was the weakest category across all mission-driven organizations for the 2nd year in a row. This year's score was 38.5 out of 100. There was that small increase, and there was an increase across most questions, which was great to see. For some of those trends and insights we wanted to provide, 41% of you are saying you don't conduct website usability testing, and then also around half aren't conducting audience surveys and focus groups to inform your marketing decisions. And similarly, 46% of you don't have personas that you're using for that either. Okay, so we have correlations, though, that we have found for those of you that are reporting using audience surveys or interviews and focus groups. you're seeing a 34-point difference in marketing maturity. And I think that is probably the highest gap that we've seen. So that could be a difference between a crawling marketing maturity stage into a running, which is really large. And then also organizations that are using personas or customer journeys to inform their marketing decisions are seeing 22 points higher. So, implementing these really critical steps to your marketing can obviously show an improvement in your effectiveness. We know that when budgets are tight, research is often the first thing that people want to cut. We also know it can kind of be daunting, time consuming. It's hard to stop that day to day to focus on the research, but the thing with it is it really makes all of your marketing and design decisions far clearer and more successful. And we've seen this time and time again. It is why we start with research on nearly every project that we start with starts with research. Having it can save you time and money in the long run. It's going to make your campaigns more precise and efficient. And really, using data to inform your decisions is always going to help you be more effective. Okay, so we're going to walk through some quick wins and some invest in success. So if you're one of those organizations that is scoring low in this area, what can you do kind of quickly? One of the first things is taking a deeper dive into your Google Analytics 4 accounts. There's a wealth of data to inform your strategies. This could be a whole webinar itself. Adam's going to share we have resources of everything that we've created for GA4 that you can look into if that's something that you want to prioritize. We also recommend a quick research method called a 5-second test. So this is simply showcasing a piece of marketing. Usually it's your website, but it can be anything. It could be a collateral, a piece of email, and giving the user 5 seconds to ask what they remember. So asking them how they would describe your organization based on what they saw. If they're curious to learn more, if you do this with 5 to 10 people, you think about how quickly you can do something like this and how much information you can quickly grab that can really help you. So that's something quick you could do. And then lastly, just collecting information in spaces you already have. You might not think to do this, like online communities, if you have something like that, pulling content from there, seeing if any themes emerge that might help you inform your content strategy or your marketing for next year. Conferences, you could do the 5-second groups, the 5-second tests, excuse me. Focus groups is also something where you can just capitalize on where your audiences are already very active and engaged. And then for these invest in success, consider prioritizing some of these longer term initiatives, like conducting those audience surveys, holding interviews. You can use all of that information then to build out personas to help you create your marketing strategies. We have a webinar that reviews best practices for creating surveys and analyzing those surveys findings too. It's a really important topic, and it's definitely something that gets a little more complicated than people realize to do correct. So definitely recommend watching that if you are going to prioritize something like that next year. Okay, so to put this into practice, we're going to show you an example. So this is a recent client of ours, a nonprofit called LifeWorks. So they focus on youth homelessness in the Austin, Texas area, and they do that through housing, counseling, workforce programs. And we were conducting a marketing communications and brand audit. So part of that audit, we performed a social listening research study. This was just to see how kind of the everyday person is talking about Austin homelessness online. So you can, in the graphic here, it was over the course of 30 days. There were around 1,000 mentions of homeless and unhoused in Austin. It reached nearly 2 million people, which was huge. But there was less than a dozen posts that mentioned youth specifically related to homelessness. So we used this research to kind of inform our recommendations that we gave in the marketing plan. And the recommendation was to use the high traffic topics that were online surrounding homelessness and redirect that attention towards youth and LifeWorks. So one of these high engagement topics is circling around what the cause of homelessness is, which some people claim that it is addiction. There's actually a lot of irresponsible rhetoric from very high profile people online about it. So our recommendation was for LifeWorks to go ahead and join the conversation without ever mentioning any of those high profile people, but helping change the narrative and showing facts and then highlighting LifeWorks. So this is just an example of what a social media post could look like based off of their recommendation. And just recognizing that there have been big voices online that are pushing a false narrative, talking about facts and then bringing those facts into the youth homelessness, and then summarizing it up with just their mission, trying to get people involved and part of the solution, and having a call to action with their donation link. So that's a good example of how you could use research to kind of inform your social strategy. All right, Jared is up.
Thank you, Bree. All right, let's talk marketing and SEO. That was research and analytics. Our next section covers questions about marketing campaign goal setting, social strategy, measuring your efforts, and using keyword research. Speaking of, we want to know, is your organization conducting keyword research to guide your content? And it's okay if the answer is no, but let us know in the chat. Yes, no, maybe you don't know. Let us know. We'll give you just a few minutes again.
No, wish they would. Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay, all right. Unfortunately, no. Few yeses. All right, I think that's temperature. We're asking for a reason, and that's because some of the results that we've seen. So soaring organizations, so those most effective marketing who report using keyword research to guide content online are seeing 230 times more monthly organic clicks and ranking for over 50,000 more keywords each month than their walking counterparts. Yet 36% of organizations report that they never conduct that keyword research to guide content production. So let's talk about some of the trends and insights for marketing and SEO. So this was 20 points higher than the lowest performing category, which was research and analytics, like we mentioned. So we're close to that running stage here for marketing and SEO. That's also 3.3 points higher than our data from 2022. On some of these trends and insights, you can see that 57% of organizations report that they only sometimes create content aimed at specific audiences, and 27% of organizations are reporting that they never set specific measurable goals for their marketing efforts. Moving into our correlations for marketing and SEO, organizations that report having those specific measurable goals for their marketing efforts are scoring around 30 points higher on average with their marketing maturity. So if you remember from that last slide, 27% of our respondents reported that they don't set those measurable specific goals at all. Additionally, organizations that are creating content aimed at specific audiences are scoring 27 points higher on average in marketing maturity. So there's simply a lot of content that is being published to the internet every single day, every single minute, really. And you can see that in this chart updated for 2024. Just look around it for a second. You can see that Instagram users are sending 694,000 reels via direct message every single minute on the internet. Viewers are watching 43 years of streaming content every single minute. That is almost unfathomable, but it's something that you really need to recognize because of the fact that it is just so difficult to stand out. And this giant playground sandbox that we call the internet and being online, there is just a lot of noise that we have to cut through to be able to get our content across and to stand out for the people that we want to see that content. Keyword research can really help you guide your content so you know exactly who's seeing it, where it's being seen, and where your audiences are actually looking for your content. Creating more personalized content for your audiences, so things that speak to them, your thought leadership that only your organization can provide. Those are the things that will really set you apart and resonate with the people that you want to see your content. So again, there's a lot that's going on in one internet minute. You're competing not only against everyone else, but the attention spans of your users as well, which is quite short. So you have to learn how to find them where they are and to be dynamic with your content. And things like keyword research can help. Your quick wins and your opportunities to invest in success for marketing and SEO. So the quick wins, first of all, we have quick keyword research methods. So there are a ton of popular tools for keyword research. Many are free or have free versions, so highly recommend. There is a ton of opportunity for you to be able to get started with this kind of stuff. Always measure and track. So you want to make sure that you always have something specific, again, that's specific and measurable for your campaign goals. And so that when you're tracking those conversions, you get that unbiased data so you can ultimately track the effectiveness of those specific measurable goals. Lastly, use Google Search Console to see which pages are getting the most traffic, and then you can assess relevance to your marketing goals from there. Your areas to invest in success here for marketing and SEO. First of all, is just to create thoughtful omni-channel nurtures. So things like nurturing your member prospects or at-risk members, nurturing your major gift donors, nurturing your at-risk students. Those are all great examples of this. And you want to do it across multiple channels in a consistent and strategic way as well. Next, you want to create a comprehensive marketing strategy for every initiative that you launch. And that may sound like a tall order, and that is because it is. I will fully own that this recommendation does take a little bit more planning on the front end, but it is something that's vital to help you really stay on track and meet those specific measurable marketing goals that you set. We do have a great template for creating a marketing campaign strategy that I think Adam will throw in the chat, but it is available on our insights, free to you, of course. And then you want to conduct an SEO audit or find a partner who can audit and provide recommendations based on priority. So sometimes it takes that third-party partner to come in and do that audit for you to provide some of that direction. And then lastly, you want to create, again, more personalized content. At any opportunity you have to create more personalized content, you should be doing it. And you want to create a strategy about how you'll actually create and achieve that personalized content. Some technology tools and just a great writer simply can really help with that on that front. Here's a quick example just to show you how quickly there can be payoff if you really focus on that keyword research. So for example, this year we worked with a client where we incorporated more keywords into their content and A/B testing into their email marketing to see which subject lines and content resonated better with the audiences that they were trying to reach. There's been an 18% increase in total users to the website when compared to that previous period. And I have to know that's only in 3 months' time as well, which is very impressive. So it is an example of a quick win for you if you just invest on the front end. And again, there are plenty of free tools that can help. So in this graph, you'll see that faded line is showing the previous period just for comparison for those 3 months. All right, Bree, back to you to talk about technology.
All right, thank you, Jared. Okay, so technology is our next category. So this category includes questions about data privacy and security, the ease of your content management system and how you publish content, your CRM or if you're an association, your AMS, the accuracy of that data, your analytics platform you use, and kind of how those are all seamlessly integrated. So technology came in at 58.7 out of 100. So that is that walking stage. And then there was a slight increase from 2022, which about 1.3 points. So for our trends and highlights in these areas, one positive area was the scoring for the question that was asked about organizations reporting that they have a well-functioning analytics platform did increase by 5.1 points, which we always love to see. But we're still having areas of opportunity with organizations that have a marketing automation platform. Around 50% of you are saying that you aren't maximizing the capabilities of that. And then nearly 40% are saying that you don't have technology systems that are seamlessly integrated. So for those correlations, organizations that are able to maximize their platform, their marketing automation platform, are seeing 24 points higher in marketing effectiveness. And then similarly, organizations that have those seamless tech integrations are seeing 21 points higher. Okay, so for the recommendations category here, so quick wins. I will note this first one is not necessarily quick, but it is easy, so I wanted to put it in here, is really auditing your CRM or your AMS. Do you have a process in place to ensure data integrity? If your marketing automation platform and your CRM are in one, like ours is in HubSpot, then you could audit both of those at the same time. And then for the second recommendation, organizations that are able to optimize their maps tend to be more effective because they're maximizing all of the features that those platforms have to offer, which typically include lots of personalization and segmentation. So we recommend seeing what trainings and certificates are available with the platforms that you have. So usually, depending on the level that you're paying for of that platform, there are likely a lot of free resources. There might be articles, knowledge base, actual certificate programs, or just different like training courses that you can take. If you have multiple members on your marketing team, you could assign one or two of them maybe to become experts and then present opportunities when you guys are planning for 2025. But just in general, it's a good idea to consider prioritizing making space and time for that learning and research on the platforms that already exist that you're already paying for. And then in the invest in success in these longer term, if you're considering hiring or you know you're going to be in the future or next year, you might want to consider, depending on the role that's needed, having one of those requirements be someone with extensive experience in marketing operations or even specific experience in the platform that you use. That could be huge as far as optimizing your programs, which then it's kind of a spiral effect. That's going to help your personalization, your segmentation, all the content you create. And marketing tech stack audit. We love audits here, y'all. I'm sure you've noticed, but they're really important. Reviewing and auditing your entire tech stack and how they integrate, that's going to help you find gaps, opportunities, see where there are redundancies. That seamless tech integration is a key to providing the smooth and consistent online experience that you want your audiences to see. And that should be regardless of what technology you're using. So it's really crucial to ensure that they're kind of all humming along together nicely. And then lastly, these last two, something you consider as you think about your budget for next year, because these have some higher cost implication is, is it time to look for an upgrade in your CMS? Maybe something more customizable like Craft is something one that we recommend a lot. Same for analytics platforms. There are a lot more advanced analytics platforms than just GA4 or ones that can help augment GA4, just to make sure that you're using your tech to its fullest potential. All right, Jared.
All right, first, y'all, my apologies. I think my video may have been black screened for like the first half of this. I'm back potentially. Y'all should be able to see me. Before we go any further, we're about halfway through. I just want to check in. How is everyone doing? How are we feeling? Bree mentioned this would be a lot of data that you're receiving, and I know it can feel like drinking through a fire hydrant. So let us start real quick. How are you feeling? Is it overwhelming? Do some of the recommendations so far seem doable or something that you can at least see yourself being able to plan for next year? Just let us know real quick so we can, again, take a temperature.
Yes, recording and slides will be shared, both. Oh, this is good. Okay. So it seems like we're on the right track.
Overwhelming for a staff of 5, I'm sure. Some of you are even scrappier than that, I'm sure. So we hear you. That is the field we're used to working in with our clients too. Let's talk about UX design and content, our next category. So this category covers areas such as accessibility, being a thought leader, making user experience a priority, maintaining an editorial calendar, and having a content governance plan. So our trends and insights for UX design and content. So this category actually had the largest improvement over last year out of any category, and that was at 7.4 points. So it's made its way into that running stage of marketing maturity, which we love to see. One contributor to that overall increase was that organizations reporting that their website is accessible increased by almost 10 points, which is great. 28% report that they never hire experienced writers to write their content. And 45% of organizations report that they never follow a documented content governance plan. So our correlations for UX design and content. Organizations who hire experienced writers to write their content are seeing on average 17 points higher, and those who have strong content strategy and structure in place. So that means things like having specific rules for grammar, punctuation, usage, following an editorial calendar, or having a documented content governance plan. Those organizations are seeing 19 points higher in overall marketing maturity on average. So you can see how some of those things are increasing the results for some of the organizations that are taking the Mighty GPS assessment. Our quick wins and opportunities to invest in success for UX design and content. First and foremost, for the quick wins is to get your forms buttoned up and make them super easy to find and to use. So with forms, we always say, keep it as simple as possible. Ask only the essential info that you need. So keep any research questions that you may have, keep those separate from the information that you need to collect someone's information about them becoming a member or a donor or renewing their membership even. Keep those separate so you can find that information out later if you need to. You want to conduct a quick accessibility check and create great alt text. We'll talk about both of those just here in a minute. And then lastly, for quick wins, you want to hold regular meetings to discuss your content. This is something we do every single week at Mighty Citizen. We have a great editorial calendar tool. It's the same one that we've used, the same one that I've used for 5 years now. We do it every single week, just checking in on the content that we want to publish, just so we can make sure everyone's on the same page, especially when we're involving any subject matter experts within or outside of our organization as well. So highly recommend those for our quick wins. Your areas to invest in success for UX design and content. First and foremost, I said it earlier, hire an experienced writer. When everything else is equal for two candidates vying for one role, hire the one that is more experienced as a writer. It will pay in dividends tenfold for your organization for years to come, truly. Another audit, you want to inventory and audit your website content. So this is something that, of course, a third party can help with, but we also have a great content audit template available on our website and our insights, again, free to you to use for auditing your content. You want to conduct an expert website review. So this is really an in-depth evaluation of your online presence, really across 5 key areas. So there's design, usability, technology, content, and then lastly, accessibility. For each of those areas, you can see your successes, your shortcomings, any problems, any opportunities you might have, as well as just a roadmap of recommendations that you might be able to implement in future site iterations. And then lastly, you want to implement a content governance plan. So the idea of content governance may be a new idea to you, but really it's a good idea for all organizations, and it's necessary for really those bigger organizations as well. Content governance is the documented set of protocols that ensures that you can create, publish, maintain, and develop content that your organization makes and to make it better meet your goals. A lot of organizations are pushing out a lot of noise online. Again, you're competing with everything else that's happening in 1 internet minute online. And again, the attention spans of the people that you want to see it. So having a content governance plan in place can help you combat some of those things. And we have some great resources for content governance on our website. We have an article that houses all of those resources as well for content governance. Highly recommend that you check it out. All right, I mentioned we talk a little bit more about alt text. So I want to do just a quick experiment with you all. I'm going to read aloud this alt text, and I want you to tell me in the chat if you know which graphic I'm describing. So a small cartoon dog wearing a little hat sits at a table, happily drinking coffee, despite the table being on fire. The foreground is also on fire, and the background, and the wall, and the rest of the room. Smoke billows across the top of the image behind a quotation bubble that says, "This is fine." Who knows the image I'm talking about? Someone said it's one of their Zoom backgrounds. Yes, the infamous meme here, "This is fine. I love this little dog with everything in me." Yes, that's a great example of alt text, right? You want to write alt text as if you were describing the image and its relevance to a friend over the phone. Make it interesting, make it detailed, make it engaging. If you're thinking, how will we find the time to do this for all of our images? Really, you want to make it a part of your process and then use Gen AI to potentially help you write it. Alt text is a quick, simple thing that you can do to really promote accessibility from your organization. And accessibility is not something that you should be sleeping on by any means, because so many Americans and otherwise millions are affected every single day by trying to interact with organizations online that they cannot interact with. So a simple thing like getting your alt text in order is just a great practice to establish. I mentioned some accessibility tools. We're not going to go in depth on any of these. If you gain access to this after the fact, which you will, you'll have the slide with these links, some extensions for accessibility tools. All of these are free, I believe, to help you just start to be more accessibility minded when you're online for your organization. All right, Bree, I'll throw it back to you for branding and strategy.
All right, so this is one of my favorite categories, branding and strategy. So this covers questions about your brand guidelines and imagery, what kind of logo recognition you have, and if you are using a documented marketing plan and messaging platform. All right, so branding and strategy was one of the two strongest categories of all the six, which I'd love to see. There was even a small year-over-year improvement of 1.4 points, but it is at a solid 65.1 running in the marketing maturity stage. However, still some areas reporting 28% of you saying that you aren't using a messaging platform to guide your content creation. And then around a quarter of you aren't following a documented, so a written marketing and communications strategy. So those of you that do say you're using a messaging platform and a documented marketing comm strategy, however, you are seeing on average 22 to 24 points higher in marketing maturity. So as you can see, there's definitely a correlation in having these things and higher marketing effectiveness. For our quick wins in branding and strategy. So if you don't already have clear brand guidelines or a messaging platform, and it's not something you're able to spend time on right now, you could try auditing, there's that word again, doing a quick audit of your brand consistency across departments, how everyone is using your brand. It can help you show where you might need to focus or create better processes for consistency and alignment. And that could help you create something a little shorter than a full brand guide and messaging platform. So maybe it's something you can only do right now that's one page. That is, that's better than nothing. For our longer term strategies, if you don't have foundational messaging, clear statements on your why, who you serve, what you offer, that is referenced by the entire organization, you should really consider creating a messaging platform. And Adam's going to share an article that goes all into messaging platforms and why they're important and how you can get started on one. Similarly, if you walk away with one thing to do after this webinar, for me, it would be to make sure that you have a written marketing and communications plan for 2025. And not only do you have it documented, but make sure that it is detailed and it has goals, activities, tasks, metrics, everything that you're going to do next year. We're going to share some templates for that in a moment. And then lastly, if you haven't in the last few years, it could be a great time to evaluate your current brand and decide if you might need a refresh or a complete rebranding. We also have some tools for that as well. All right, so to put this in practice, one of our favorite clients, the American Association of Veterinary State Boards, they approached us many years ago with multiple products that they needed marketing support. Before we got started creating the marketing and the value props for these products, we recognized that there was kind of a North Star that was lacking for how they were communicating to themselves. So we needed to distill the value that the organization had into really clear talking points, and then we could use those points to help inform our product marketing strategy. So perfect solution was that messaging platform that I mentioned. We created it for the entire organization, not just the marketing department. And you can see in the screenshots here, it includes critical communication tools. So like your positioning statement, problems the organization solves, target audience descriptions, your why statement, and then also guidelines on how to communicate. And then I like to share this toolkit because it's 4-in-1. So this is our Mighty Communications Toolkit. It includes the annual marketing communications plan template that I mentioned. This is nice because it'll walk you through each section and it provides prompts and examples to help you build out your full annual plan. There's also a campaign strategy template. So you might have multiple campaigns in a year that you're going to do, and that would be listed in your overall annual plan. But once you get to those campaigns, you need to have something very specific and detailed for that to help build out your goals and ensure that you're staying on track. And that campaign strategy template will help you do that. I think Jarrett mentioned that earlier, and that was shared. And then lastly, editorial calendar template. That's the same one that Jarrett mentioned that we use. And then we have a marketing and communications budget template that is based off of the exact one that we use here at Mighty Citizens. So hopefully those can help you out if you're going to prioritize some of these areas. All right, Jarrett, last category.
Yes, we made it to our final category, team dynamics, which was a lot of fun. This is our last category. It's also our strongest category, not only this year, but for the second year in a row. So this covers questions like leadership buy-in for marketing, having trusted partnerships, having a large enough budget to support your goals, successfully completing projects, and having all departments aligned on both messaging and tactics. So let's get into some of the data here. Again, this is our strongest category for the second year in a row across all mission-driven organizations at 70.9 out of 100. It was also the only category to see 2 questions score the soaring stage of marketing maturity. So as you can see here, leaders believe that communications and marketing is a critical part of its overall success, something we love to see here at Mighty Citizen. And then your marketing departments have a variety of skill sets. And I think that is something that is critical, especially for those smaller teams, like someone mentioned earlier in the chat. You can get a lot accomplished with limited resources with the right spread. Trends and insights for team dynamics. There were still some areas of improvement, with 25% reporting that their marketing budgets are not large enough to support goals, and only half agreeing that departments are aligned on strategy, messaging, and tactics as well. Some of our correlations for team dynamics connected to these stats. Organizations that report a sufficient marketing budget to support goals score 18 points higher in marketing maturity on average. And then you can see below, organizations that report leadership buy-in for their marketing efforts score 13 points higher in marketing maturity on average. So some of the correlations there for team dynamics. Our quick wins and our opportunities to invest in success here. So quick wins, simply scale back. So for those who don't have the budget that they need to support their goals, it's okay to scale back and only focus on the initiatives that you can get done or that can support your established goals. And that requires you really just to be real with yourself. There's no shame in scaling back when you need to, and it requires you to look deep. So use that written communications plan. Look at all the activities that you have planned related to your organization's strategic goals versus the resources that you actually have to be able to accomplish those things. So when I say resources, I'm talking about your people, and I'm talking about your money primarily. So see what you actually have available and then update that plan for reality. There is no shame in doing that. It is better to do less better than to do everything that you're trying to do, kind of lower quality. Share your resources with other departments as well, and set up cross-departmental committees to break down the silos that exist within your organization. We see so many organizations, so many clients that come to us that are operating in such a siloed manner, when really, when you're pooling your resources, pooling the data, all the best practices, that is the best way to really trim the things that are holding you back and to optimize your resources, because everyone's kind of operating from the same place. Some longer term investments, ways to invest in your success for team dynamics. Convince leadership to invest more in marketing. So the great news is that many of you say that your leadership does see the value in marketing, but the bad news is that it's not helping really many of you get the budget that you need to accomplish your goals that you have set out for your marketing efforts. We'll have some tips later on for help asking for more money for that investment. We shared that Mighty Communications Toolkit a few slides ago. That includes a budget template that can really help you create and track a budget. Again, it's based off one that we use internally at Mighty Citizen. Highly recommend that you download. And then lastly, it may be time to really evaluate your marketing department skills. So the skills that exist across everyone working within your department. See what gaps you may have or what strengths you may have that you aren't optimizing. This can help you really plan to add roles. If you're in a position to be able to hire, you can see exactly where any gaps are, and that may help inform a job description as well, which just makes it a simpler process. And again, you're optimizing your team. So consider that if you have any hiring that may be coming up. So put into practice, again, we're going to use an example from one of our favorite clients, AABSB, the American Association of Veterinary State Boards, that Bree was just talking about. So at some point, they had some new leadership at the helm, and AAVSB's board made a decision to focus heavily on new product launches a few years ago, like Bree was talking about. So their marketing team of two realized very quickly that this was something they wouldn't be able to accomplish without some outside help. So they had to ask their board, they went back and asked their board for $150,000 more in addition to the $50,000 that was already approved. And that $150,000 was set to include research, AAVSB's messaging platform, marketing communication plans, and then 3 discrete product launches as well, which all required branding, messaging, creative design, a launch playbook, media buys, analytics, monitoring, and fine tuning. So lots going in to all 3 of these coordinated, very highly coordinated campaigns. Luckily, there was an amazing leader in the marketing department at AAVSB who created a presentation to pitch the board to make this case for the extra money, and it ultimately worked. So the board realized the importance of doing something right for success versus jumping into it and creating confusion or achieving negligible results. The board, of course, did have some expected results from their investment, of course. So things like an increase in revenue, successful branding and launch of new programs and services, and then, of course, increased visibility for AAVSB. And they got all of that and included some unexpected results, too, that they realized after the fact. First of which is how they felt seeing our first ever print ad. Their new pride in the materials and awards that they were receiving for this work that came out of our partnership. And then maybe most importantly, this operational succession planning. So if that marketing leader left within the organization, they have an entire partner in Mighty Citizen that knows what's going on with their marketing and everything is documented. So for example, in this racetrack program that Bree was mentioning earlier, this kind of continuing education for veterinarians to be able to track the CE that they're doing, you can see some of these stats on the right. Over 900 new accounts, a 125% conversion rate, which is just a dream, 364,000 impressions, and then a 42% increase in year-over-year users and applications. So some mighty, mighty results from this work that we get to see with AAVSB. All right, Bree, back to you.
All right. So I'm curious if you guys can tell me in the chat, have any of you successfully asked and received like a significant amount more money in your marketing budget? Just curious. And then also, did anyone try out I like the Mona Lisa method here on the screen where they're just, where you just bang across the table. Sometimes it feels like that when you're just pleading. Yeah, I'm just curious if anyone, yes. Oh, Micah from Humanity and Inclusion. That's one of our clients. They have, all right, awesome. So I'm asking that just because I would love, and I'm sure attendees would love to hear any piece of advice that you have for what helped to get what you asked for. So if you want to put that in the chat, that would be awesome. We have a few tips ourselves with doing this ourselves and helping our clients, of course, do this. The first is to be really clear on your strategic goals and your vision for the organization and how that aligns with your organization's goals. So there always should ladder up and it should be mentioned often when you present. So your leaders need to see their goals and your goals. So that is first and foremost. The second is identifying what your organization needs to really move the needle and then getting as specific as possible with your ask. So you can do this through the Mighty GPS. When you take that, it's going to showcase your biggest areas of opportunity. Then we have a planner that you can get after you take the GPS, or that written marketing communications plan you can use and build out your priorities there. Showcasing what others are doing to achieve the results you desire. So this is provided in presentation today with all this data and the correlations we went over that are in the benchmark report. So download that, and this gives you that direct data showing that, hey, organizations that are doing X are seeing higher marketing effectiveness. And in theory, we can do that too if we're able to have the resources and time to implement this. And then lastly, something I already mentioned, but I'm going to mention again, having the thoughtful and strategic written plan. So again, that should be super detailed. Download that template if you need to. Also, having a higher level plan, usually we have an executive summary in the template, and that's something that's typically shared with leadership because they're not going to go through probably every page of the very long marketing communications plan. But when you're asking for a certain amount of money and you have a very specific ask, you might need to get a little more detailed and build out a presentation. And then if you're going to get outside help, really making sure you're doing your homework and you know what is needed for a great partnership, and then that is reflected and clear in your ask. And then bonus tip that is important, and we wanted to make sure we noted, it's okay to have lofty goals, being ambitious. A big part of your success is really believing, having the confidence and the passion for what you're doing. In this case, what you're asking for. That example that we showed earlier with AAVSB, we actually did a presentation with her a while ago at an association conference that kind of talked through her process of doing this. And one of the big things was exactly this. So she was very passionate and confident, and so was her entire team. And I think that went a long way. All right, so we are wrapping up. We're going to talk about next steps. What should you do when you leave here today? So the first, of course, is taking the Mighty GPS. If you haven't already, if you have, go back and find your report. If it's been a while, maybe retake it. This is going to help you plot that course based on your areas of opportunity. We do recommend, if you have more than one member on your marketing team, to have multiple members take the GPS. Comparing yourself, as I mentioned in the budget tip section, the benchmark report, it's a great tool to see what others are doing to achieve the results that you desire. So reviewing where you exceed, align, or fall short, and then using that as a catalyst to prioritize. And then having conversations. So at your next meeting, or if you're having an upcoming planning meeting, which our team is in October, very exciting, bring your scores with you. Even if you have multiple people in the department, take it. And then also those benchmarks of where you're doing well in and what you need to improve on, and then discuss as a group, discuss your gaps, prioritize all of those efforts together as a team. Okay, after you do that, this is when you're going to build that written plan. So you've met with your team, you've decided where to prioritize, you've looked at those benchmarks, you're going to have a detailed plan of everything, and you're going to include when you're going to accomplish everything too as well. I would recommend that, so you can really build out those to-dos and stay on course. And then just a reminder that this written plan, it's a living, breathing document. So it is meant to change, and it will, especially if you have to, towards the end of the year, scale back like Jarrett just mentioned. That's fine. It is meant to be a living, breathing document, but you want to start first with a plan and then kind of iterate as the year goes by. And then the last two, so this is when you can build your case and present if you're asking for more resources. So use that written plan and data. You can focus on building your case for more resources to leadership. The data from the GPS and the reports is going to help you justify that spending, make arguments that marketing teams with the budget that they need can truly help the organization move forward. And then lastly, checking back. So we recommend you take the GPS every year, especially after you've implemented a lot of changes. This helps you track your progress and compare against yourself, which is great. What's also great about this too is it can show leadership the improvement. So obviously you're going to be tracking everything too, all of your marketing strategies. You can show the results there, but to look overall at your entire marketing ecosystem, if you can show your GPS results where at walking and then moved to running, that's showcasing that you're moving your entire organization forward. And that is all we have. So thank you guys for joining. We do have some time for questions. We made the webinar 75 minutes just because we knew this was a lot of data to go over. We'll be sending out the slides, the recording of the webinar tomorrow to everyone. You can also scan that QR code to get access to everything. When you exit the Zoom webinar, I'm just going to remind everyone, if you're not able to stay for questions, there's a post-webinar survey you'll be taken to. It takes 1 minute. We just want to get feedback. It really helps us improve, and we definitely use it to update topics and improve our webinars in the future. So, all right, let me see here. We have, I don't know if I have, there were some questions in the chat. Jared, I don't know if you see any of those questions in the chat. There wasn't a ton in the Q&A.
I've got a few from the chat that Adam compiled for me.
Okay.
First says, can you share some guidance or speak on the challenge of operationalizing some of the marketing resources recommended in this presentation? All are important, and we have our personas, messaging, positioning, and value propositions, but they sometimes feel like files just sitting in a folder. Bree, I feel like you are very well equipped to answer this one.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something that a marketing leader should look at. So if you truly feel that way, taking a look at what those things actually are and then making a plan to meet with other department leaders and ensure that one, they're being followed. Maybe you need to have an organization-wide meeting that is covering all of those things. There might need to be some balance and checks. So if you suspect that they are not being used like they're supposed to be, checking in with those other department leaders to make sure they are, or working with some other employees to kind of help make sure they're being used. And then just we are big on processes here, maybe to a fault sometimes, but it's just we have so much to do internally on our team. There's just a small group of us of five, and processes is kind of the only way to ensure that we are, keeping to our brand standards and everyone is using the same thing. So we have a lot of templates that we use. So for example, before we create an email, we have an email marketing brief, and it has a set of questions that somebody has to answer before, like Jarrett goes to create an email. And that is, are we making sure that our, messaging is aligned with our platform? Are we on brand tone, reminding of our brand voice? Those kind of things can help you, I think, stay on course. And I think just frequently reminding everyone is also something, even if it sounds annoying to you, and you're sound like a broken record, it likely isn't to other people. So hopefully I answered that.
Thanks, Bree. Another quick one. Do you have an article on keyword search methods and tools? We do. I wrote this back in 2021. It's called If You Build It, They Will Come, Finding Your Right Keywords for Your Audiences. I will throw that in the chat right now.
And there's also I think some of those quick keyword tools that you could do. Moz has a free one. SEMrush does. What are some of the other ones, Jared, that we had in the? There's if you just Google it, there's a whole ton of them. But I know Moz and SEMrush are really good ones to have, and I think Google has one too. But you have to have a Google account.
Google Keyword Planner, which is a free tool, but yeah, you do have to have a Google Ads account. There's Uber Suggest, Moz. I'm not sure if you just said that, Bree, but they are linked within that article as well.
Yeah.
Other questions. See, do you have a recommendation on who within an association should be the email policy, or maybe should be in charge of the email policy? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I guess it probably depends on how many people you have in your department. So for example, I would say if you have someone higher up that handles all of your content, including your emails, be similar to how, like an owner would be in a content governance plan. I would say they would probably be. If you're doing if there's lots of emails going across different departments, I would say probably the marketing leader should be the one that's in charge of that. There are some other questions that came in from the Q&A. Just look. The email police. That's email. I mean, the email police could also be the brand police or the content police. I would say your marketing communications team definitely should be. If you have a content leader in your department, they should be the owner over everything that has to do with content. And then the brand police should definitely be the top person in marketing. So I'm the brand police for Mighty Citizen.
There are, Bree. Lots of questions about if we're sending out this recording. Yes. If you're registered for the webinar, you will receive the recording, the slides, resources, all of it via email within the next 24 hours, I would say.
Yeah, and I know someone wants to share the can you include in the chat with the recording so we can have all the links shared in the chat? I don't know if we're able to do that, but if you take the GPS, the custom report that I was talking about, I'm nearly certain everything that we've shared today is also in those recommendations. So you should be able to get what you need there, or simply searching on our insights. You can filter by tools, which will have all the templates that we were referencing, or by keyword as well, which should help.
I was going to say, since y'all use HubSpot, will you have a presence at Inbound next week? We did all go last year for the first time, which was a lot of fun in Boston. Adam on keys will be attending next week, and I know he's very excited, and we're very excited to kind of live vicariously through him.
Yeah, Adam is, we wouldn't have a presence as far as like exhibiting or sponsoring because they're not our target audience, but Adam's our marketing operations manager. So he's the one that is the HubSpot expert. So it is very important for him to attend, and he'll come back with all sorts of ideas and things. And it's great timing because we do our planning in October, and Insight or Inbound is in a couple of weeks. So we'll have lots to talk about when we go into our planning. So that's a good recommendation too. If you have any professional development that your team's able to use, doing that ahead of planning. Because oftentimes I've noticed you can have those conferences and you do lots of notes and you might do a debrief and then all the notes just sit and nothing happens with them, but have an action plan for them afterwards. Cool.
And it looks like our last question here on the Q&A is, can you share your email brief? I'm not sure if that's in reference to something specific or something general.
I think they're talking about the email brief that we use internally. We do not have that available publicly, but that is a good idea. So maybe in the future we can have that as a tool.
All right, I think that's all the questions we have for you. Well, I want to say thank you to everyone for attending, spending your afternoon with us. Bree and I love doing this stuff. We love, sharing this information. We've worked really hard on both the Mighty GPS and the benchmarking report. So we're excited to bring this information to you all and just really empower you to treat yourself, for lack of a better word.
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.